nothing's clear anymore. Why was I dying to get away? I was trying to break free. Now I'm only broke and lonely in the sunshine, wishing for the rain. Thought I had a new start, clean slate, fresh coat and shiny paint, but I traded in a little for a few.
Welcome to the Napa Valley Center for Spiritual Living. We are a vibrant, inclusive, and spiritual community that seeks to live intentionally, love unconditionally, and see God in all people and in all faiths. We believe the work we do in prayer and in the community creates a world that works for all cultures, races, orientations, and faiths. For over 60 years, we have practiced thinking globally and acting locally to help awaken humanity to its spiritual magnificence. Annually, hundreds of people actively participate in our services, classes, events, and in our Spanish-speaking ministry. And we are training the next generation of spiritual leadership in our ministerial school. In the last few years, because of apparent divisions politically and socially, and because of threats to basic human rights, we have magnified our application of Science of Mind principles with engagement and compassion in action in the greater Napa Valley community. Our members have participated in women's marches, pride events, and we have hosted speakers on racial issues. We have empowered and mentored diverse leaders in our community and given scholarships to diverse ministerial students. We have donated over 4,000 pounds of food to our local food bank. Our spiritual director, Reverend Jay Lang, has facilitated an interfaith leadership group to hold public prayer vigils and 9/11 commemorations in participation with Jews, Muslims, and Christians. We have fostered the creation of a beloved community in the larger Napa Valley area by honoring community heroes at events and tithing to and partnering with a dozen different nonprofits that share our vision. Together, we've created a Martin Luther King Day of Service where over 1,200 participated in community service annually. The leadership of our parent organization, the Centers for Spiritual Living, headquartered in Golden, Colorado, recognized our community for all of the outstanding, compassionate work we've been doing over the last few years with the 2022 Meritorious Community Award. As we move forward to do this work of the heart, to awaken the world to its spiritual magnificence, will you join us as we continue to ascend to new heights and create a world that works for everyone?
Of feedback there. Are we good? Okay, all right. I'm Reverend Jay Lang, so happy to have you here at the Napa Valley Center for Spiritual Living. Welcome everybody online. I know I was outside and having trouble coming back in, so what a beautiful day it is today, and we enjoy that. Thank you for being with us today and enjoying the time inside you. There's always more time outside later on. We have a wonderful service today planned for you. We're going to begin with the music. We're going to welcome back Calvin Johnson from Santa Rosa. Let's give him a hand.
Good morning. This is a chant. It's very simple. It means everybody can join. I am the love of God. 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 I am love. I am love. I am the love of God. I am love. God. You are the love. You are the love of God. 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 You are love. You are love. You are the love of God. You are love. You are love. You are the love of God. We are the love. We are the love of God. 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 We are love. We are love. We are the love of God. We are love. We are love. We are the love of God.
Beautiful. You can stay there. I've just got a few announcements, and then it's going to be your turn again. So you can stay right there. So good to have you here today. What is it your time to tell me? Yes, I did. So good to have you here today. It's a blessing that we are in community. I just love the community that is the truth of who we are. And it's just one way of our spiritual expression, so it's good to be here. We are celebrating our vision and mission today. If you'll look up on the screen and read it with me. We are an inclusive community for spiritual growth and compassionate action. And our mission statement, we are co-creating a world that works for everyone by living intentionally, loving unconditionally, and seeing God in all people and all faiths. I can tell many of you have got that down. I know for new people, we need to keep the screen up, but you guys aren't even looking at it anymore. So that's good. That's good. That's good. So a few things that I want to mention today. It is Women's History Month, and I just want to bring forth not only women, but also the divine feminine that's in us all. And in terms of spiritual work that we've been doing, the divine masculine, I often think of one as about achievement, as a way shower, like they're out in front, not necessarily men, but the divine masculine, because it's shown up in people like, I've been talking about Emma Curtis Hopkins. She had definitely had a lot of divine masculine in her to be such a teacher of over 50,000 people in the early 1900s. I mean, it was, you had to have a lot of gumption to do what she did and to do her own work like she did. But we also have the divine feminine that is more inclusive and talking about integrated. And for me, the difference for that Mirabai Starr, who I'll give this quote in a minute, but what she talks about is that the divine masculine tends to be isolated in their spiritual growth and trying to find enlightenment out there, versus the divine feminine is recognizing that there's the spirit in all of life, in our everyday life, how it can show up. And instead of having to isolate ourselves, it's actually an integrated part of spiritual living. And Mirabai Starr, the mystic writer, says, for women mystic, contemplative life is not so much a matter of transcending the illusions of the mundane existence or attaining states of perfect equanimity as it is about becoming as fully present as possible to the realities of human experience and showing up for what is, no matter how pedestrian or tedious, how aggravating or shameful. The what is begins to reveal itself as imbued with holiness. How do we make space in our lives for this kind of sacred scene? So I love that, and for me, this is what, when we changed our name 10 years ago to the Center for Spiritual Living, this is what it was about. And it was led by the divine feminine that we want to bring spirituality into our everyday life, even the mundane, even the most challenging parts of our lives, that we can bring the sacred and the spiritual and how to apply these principles in our lives. So we honored that. I also want to mention that we do have a youth program. I know there's a little mess out there in the courtyard, so it's hard to imagine, but especially now it's a little bit drier, at least today is drier. And Sherry Rusi has done some wonderful jobs of decorating the children's area to prepare to make it feel like a home there. So encourage your children and grandchildren to come up on Sundays and enjoy the time. We've also got some teenagers who are assistants in there, and they're always, it's great to have them there helping out with the program there. The other thing I want to mention is that we do have the Sip and Savor coming up on May 6th. It was a wonderful event we had last year and actually for the past 6 years. And this year we've included the tradition of the Compassionate Heart Awards, and we have 3 new winners that have been nominated and we voted on, and that includes from left to right, Hope Lugo, who's an advocate for families and children. She's improved the lives of low-income Napa residents and farm workers in healthcare, education, and housing. She's done this for, 70 years. She's in her 90s now. She's an icon in this valley, what she's done to make a difference. And feel so honored that she's willing to receive this Compassionate Heart Award, and she definitely deserves it. And then in the middle is Carol Poole, who's the part of the Napa Wildlife Rescue. And this is a nonprofit that rescues over 1,500 animals per year, different kinds of animals. So it's fun to have a person who's done their work in the environmental area as well. So that's Carol Poole, and that's her Maddie is a hawk that she takes around with her, who they weren't able to release into the wild. So now both Carol and Maddie are spokes beans for the wildlife rescue. And then Marty Shoulders is the medical director of Aldea, which is a children, youth, and family service. Such an important, they have affected tens of thousands of families in positive ways. Often families that can't afford regular medical services, and also they don't always reach out. They have to have a safe place to reach out, and Aldea has been that for so many years. And he's been doing this for another person who's been doing it for decades, so it's so great to have him as an award winner for us also. So what we have is we have an auction. We have a silent and live auction that's part of the event, as well as the ceremony to award these award winners. And we are accepting donations for the auction, different kinds of things, wine or Napa Valley events, maybe vacation lodging you might have, baskets of spa products, or a picnic, or wine, or different things like that, services, fine art, gift cards, anything like that. If you have connections with restaurants or anything like that, we'd love for you to reach out to them to get donations, because that's a big part of what we're doing. And then also it is a ticketed event, so we'll be publicizing this more and more to people to buy tickets out all over Napa Valley, and actually the Bay Area. We have a number of people that come from Oakland and San Francisco, Berkeley areas. So we're excited. We expect about 150 to 200 people there. So but tickets are on sale. If you want to go and get your tickets now, you can go to the guest counter and get get them. There's early bird discounts, especially. There's a great deal for 2 people. It's not 2 for 1, but 2 for a cheaper price than it is if you buy individual tickets. And also, as part of getting ready for the Sip and Savor, if you haven't noticed, we're going through a little transformation in our courtyard, and it'll be beautiful eventually. I have a prayer request in for Easter, but the truth is my main prayer request is that it be done with the highest and best for all of the courtyards. It may not be done by Easter, but it will definitely be done by the Sip and Savor. But one aspect of it, we had a large donation from somebody in December who's outside of this, who doesn't live in Napa, and we're very grateful for that, a donation that helped get us started with this project. So grateful for that large donation. But we're still a little short of the money we need. And where we're short is this wall we want to build in the back part. And today, if you go back there, if you walk back there, you can see the form. So we'll be able to build a concrete wall, but that's a seating wall. But we don't have the funding for the rock that's going to go over it, like that's at the 9/11 memorial here. You can see the rock that's been laid over that. That's what we're looking for funding for. So if you have money above what you would normally give and you would like to donate towards this wall, we'd appreciate it. Anybody who donates over $500 will go on a plaque that we'll put on the wall. So we appreciate small and large donations toward this. And you can see me or Mary about special donations, or simply mark what you give in the offering plate to the wall or something like that. We would appreciate that, because it'll be a really nice feature, attractive and functional. And then coming up in April, which is coming up pretty quickly here, this week is April. So on the 2nd, which is not listed there, but the 2nd is our Palm Sunday service, and we're going to have a special day that day. But mainly as we go into Easter week, we have a metaphysical communion on April 7th, a labyrinth walk, or on the 6th, a labyrinth on the 7th, and Easter service on the 9th. Now the metaphysical communion, I want you to rethink what you know about communion, because it's not about death, it's not about blood or anything like that, the way we see it, the way we have meaning from it. It's about breaking the life that we give, and it's in service of our greater purpose, and we'll be affirming that which is our life that flows through us and the purpose we have on that evening. So looking forward to that. And then we're going to have a labyrinth set up in this sanctuary that Diana Browning made. I just saw Diana back here. She painted it for us, so it fills up this whole room. We moved the chairs out of the way, fills up the whole room. It's a really nice way to spend our Good Friday on walking a labyrinth. It'll be open from 4 to 7 p.m. You can come anytime between that time. It's just kind of an open time to come to that. And then we have our Easter service. The theme of it is Rising as One, Evolutionary Love. So that'll be really nice to be, like I said, probably not in the courtyard, but it might be. Who knows? We'll see. But no matter what, we are going to have an Easter egg hunt. I'm determined to do that. Even if we have to hide them out in the front yards out here, we will have an Easter egg hunt. And I don't know, maybe we'll have enough for some adults too. So we'll have to hide them in obvious places though. So, and then later in April, we have a couple workshops coming up that are really going to be fun. On the 10th, that's the Revolutionary Love Project that Laura Keller is doing. That's going to be a study group that's over probably 5 or 6 Mondays that's going to study the book by Valerie Carr, See No Stranger, Revolutionary Love. And not only be able to talk about it, but create some action items that we can do here in the community that will make a difference in helping the world work for more people than it does now. And then on April 16th, this is kind of fun. First of all, the Sunday service, Georgia Davis is going to be speaking that Sunday, so that'll be fun. I'm going to be away, and so who knows what happens when I'm away, right? Got to come to find out. And then that afternoon after service, Astra's going to be singing during the service, but after she's going to do this fun workshop on musical mantras for your mindset and what you're going to create. You don't have to be a good singer at all, because they're going to be simple tunes, but you're going to create a simple tune for a mantra for yourself that's going to be meaningful for you. And it's going to be fun. The whole process of creating it will be fun with her, and she's so fun. So look forward to that. You can sign up for that or Laura's study group, either one, at the welcome table today. And just please know that we are here for you in all ways. The prayers are available with practitioners after the service. You can give prayer requests in the lobby. You can write them out. You can send them to us online, or just call the office to receive any kind of support you may need. So we appreciate your being part of this community, and we want to honor and support you in whatever way we can. And now we'll start the sacred part of our service.
In this moment, in this place, I remember who I am, letting fear and worry fall away from me. I open my eyes and see there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets me free. There is only love. When I lose myself, when I feel I've lost my way, when I go inside and quiet my mind, I can hear Spirit gently say, there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets me free. There is only love. And this voice of love, it is singing through my life. It is what I am. It's a part of me. It is what I choose to be. There is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets me free. There is only love.
And on the words of that beautiful song, take a breath with me. And we are mindful of this breath that is life. In this breath, in this silence, this space, we feel the presence. Spirit is breathing us, blessing us. In welcome, I affirm and accept the magnificence of each of us, opening to each other. I declare today's service, its music, Reverend Jay and his message, to be magnificent, knowing that each one of us is exactly where we need to be. Let us take the next moment to just sit in the silence and feel the warmth, the comfort, that spiritual beauty and magnificence that we call God. Thank you. This month's theme is Spiritual Magnificence. I always liked playing with words and knowing where words come from. While other kids in high school were having fun taking French, Spanish, I slogged through 4 years of Latin. I see somebody shaking their head. It must have been the same school. And the word magnificent comes from the Latin. Magna means great. And the rest comes from facere, meaning to make or to do. So magnificence simply means doing a great deed or something that's greatly made. Turn to your neighbor for a moment and just tell them something you think is great. One word. Sunset, grandchild, anything. Stars. One word. Okay. Jay's going to chide me for taking more than 5 minutes here. Those who have traveled in space say that their view of planet Earth was the most magnificent sight ever observed by man. How many of you, though, when you told your neighbor that word for magnificent, how many of you, raise your hand, said, I am? Said me. I know I wouldn't think of that. So when you go home, look in the mirror. Ignore your freckles, your hair, your blemishes, any scars, the wrinkles, the gray. Try to look beyond that. Look in your eyes. See the real you that was created by God, of God, for God. Our belief system here, our basic belief system, is that we are expressions of God. And this is the truth for us. No matter what we look like, our bodies are prime examples of unmatched magnificence. Our bodies can renew themselves. They can heal themselves, defend themselves, repair themselves. Just take a look at the self-repair. Consider the fact, if you've had a broken bone, that broken bone can mend itself, can become strong on its own. If you were to break the leg on that chair, how long would you have to wait for that chair to heal itself? You can heal yourself. Lacerations, cuts in your skin, heal themselves. Your red corpuscles live 120 days. They die. The body replaces them. So the body repairs, renews, heals itself. But the most magnificent thing is our own creation. We all know the physical about it. 2 cells unite, but there's more. Each of those cells contain all of that new little person's hereditary material. Mom and dad's cells have thousands of genes. You've got what we call genetic coding. A new DNA complex is formed and a new human being. So our very essence from the beginning is magnificent. It's greatness, it's brilliance, it's wonderful, it's your highest and best. So one more time, turn to the person beside of you and say, you're magnificent. You're magnificent. Okay. And you're absolutely magnificent. So, see, even if you didn't say, I'm magnificent, there's someone right beside of you who thinks you're magnificent. And so you are. Thank you.
Calvin Johnson.
Wow. No.
What?
What? Well, you make me feel. You make me feel. I once heard a powerful story about a man who stood in his truth with such conviction in who he was, he would not be moved. Someone stepped out of the crowd and said, "Are you Martin Luther King?" He said, "Yes, I am," and the well-dressed man spat on him. Then King took out his handkerchief and he wiped the hate from his suit. He gave it back to the man and said, "I believe this belongs to you. I will lift you up and do what I can do. I see your heart, I know your pain. I have been there too. I will hold you high while you do what you have to do. But I am clear who is standing here. I believe this belongs to you." I once had a powerful story that I used to carry around. I thought it was you all this time who held my spirit down. But now I know the truth of who I came here to be. You are my angel in disguise and not my enemy. So I thank you for the part you played in this dance we had to do. I give you back your own true love. I believe it belongs to you. I will lift you up and do what I can do. I see your heart, I know your pain. I have been there too. I will hold you high while you do what you have to do. But I am clear who is standing here. I believe this belongs to you. I will hold you high while you do what you have to do. But I am clear who is standing here. I believe this belongs to you.
That's a great song. Is that your song?
No,
Who?
it's written by Jan Garrett.
Oh, J.D. Martin.
Esther Nicholson.
Oh, and Esther Nicholson. Oh, wonderful. I love that song, and fitting for today, because today we're talking about what our greater truth is and whether what people say and their opinion of it. The name of my message today is You're Pre-Approved. And the truth is, you know, you'd get those flyers in the mail sometimes, and they would say you're pre-approved for a credit card or something like that. And you would just throw it away going, yeah, whatever. But the truth is you are pre-approved on a spiritual level. You don't have to prove yourself to anybody. Unfortunately, we grow up in a way that we think we have to prove ourselves, and we take on things that aren't ours and to give them back to others, the things that really aren't ours, to recognize that. And we have to go within to find that, because we're not going to find the answers out here, because there's voices around us of opinions and thoughts of all the things we should or should not be doing. And I'll grant you, those of us who are parents or just we've been raised by parents and teachers and compassionate ministers that have guided us along the way. And some of us maybe needed it more than others, but we all needed some guidance about what was appropriate, what was right to do among other people. But sometimes those parents or teachers were not necessarily functional in their own way. They had their own pain, their own limitations, and they could injure us along the way. They could shame us and blame us. Even the best parents sometimes lose their patience with their children, or teachers do, or we lose our patience with our own children. What happens, though, as an adult, that shame that we experienced as a child, sometimes we internalize it. And now we can shame ourselves with very little triggers, with very little indication. And what I think is that we can find this pre-approval within, because what I find is that the more we try to gain approval on the outside of us, the more unsure of ourselves we will feel. And we can find peace and purpose when we give others the freedom to think whatever they like. And we can find this peace and purpose within. When we depend too much on the opinions of others, it's almost like we can be it's just like a whim. We can be blown away too easily. We can be affected by them too easily. And I guess my question this morning is, how much weight do you put on other people's opinions? I think for me, it depends on who that person is. There are definitely people in my life, their opinion matters a lot to me. But I also can filter that to what is true. But I have to do that internally, because I can't depend on, if you ask somebody, is that really what you mean? And they'll always say, yes, that's really what I mean. We have to depend on something greater within us that finds that. I think not only do we have these authority figures in our lives that have affected us and told us how we should be in the world, but some of those parents, teachers, ministers, we've associated with God. And we think that God is this kind of being that tells us that we're wrong or that we're right, and judges us and even shames us, we think sometimes. That's the kind of God that we often grow up in the churches that we had, that we experienced. And I want to let you tell you that, just like Meister Eckhart says, that any talk of God that doesn't comfort you is a lie. It's an absolute lie. And that there's no God out there that's anywhere. There's no spot that God is out there, right? Instead, God is everywhere. God is nowhere and everywhere at the same time. This God, this universal presence that we can experience, is not judging or disapproving. It has no eyes to watch us, no ears to hear us, no arms to hold us, and yet we can feel heard, seen, and embraced by that energy that's all around us. Science of Mind is based on what people call pantheism, which means pantheism is that God is everywhere and we are one with God. Now, I go a little bit further with that and call it panentheism, which is I didn't make that up, but panentheism says that God is all there is, we're one with God. All that I am is God, and here's what makes it a little different. God is so much more than I am. So I am God, and God is so much more than me, beyond me. And so I experience the awe of all of God and the innermost God also. Ernest Holmes, our founder, said that the highest God and the innermost God are one God, that anyone can experience this indwelling God. and the direct revelation of truth through our intuitive and spiritual nature, and anyone can become a revealer of this truth who is in close contact with this indwelling God. Anybody can reveal this truth. And this truth is the key to knowing what the truth is. To be the lie detector, as well as the BS detector within us, the belief system. Remember, that's what BS means. Don't assume other things. That is a lie detector of our false beliefs that are within us. One of my favorite lines in the Bible that I've always attuned to says, "For in spirit we live and move and have our being." We live and move and have our being. That's from, I was looking it up this week. It's in Acts, and Paul was sharing it with as part of his teaching. But I found out when I did my research that he did not create that phrase. He was using it as a phrase to talk about Jesus, but in fact, he was speaking to a group of Gentiles, which means non-Jewish people, and they were actually Greeks, and they knew of this Greek philosopher who it originated from 600 years before Jesus was born. His name was Epimenides, and Epimenides, 600 years before that, was referring actually to Zeus, who he believed was a man and a god, and there was a story that people believed that Zeus had died, and Epimenides said, no, Zeus can't die, and he wrote this little saying, "They fashioned a tomb for you, holy and high one, Cretans, always liars, evil beasts, idle bellies, but you are not dead, you live and abide forever, for in you we live and move and have our being." So even 3,000 years ago, people were challenged with fake news, right? And I figured since Paul borrowed it, I can borrow it too. I'm not talking about Zeus or anybody else, but the great spirit, the all-encompassing spirit that's around us, that we live and move and have our being. And in fact, spirit lives and moves within us and is our being. So as we're in this land of I am, this land of balance and peace, we can find our worthiness right where we are. This denomination was founded on a series of different progressions. A lot of people think and it had a high influence, the positive thinking movement, or some people call it the mind cure movement, that you can change your life with your thinking. But it was also highly affected by the transpersonal or transcendental and metaphysical thinking, as well as progressive, universal, and faith traditions. And out of that, we developed our spiritual practices of affirmative prayer, meditation, mindfulness, and the study and awareness of consciousness. But more importantly, I wanted to, without going into a full history of things, I just want to talk about mainly, why do people attracted to centers for spiritual living? And I found three main reasons why they first come here. One is because they're interested in a progressive community. You guys that are open thinkers, independent thinkers. I guarantee if we took a poll of what you believe, you'd be all over the place. And that's fine here. Also, sometimes people come here initially for a healing or a change they're seeking. Something's going on in their lives and they want some reassurance. They want to be able to right the ship, so to speak, or find healing from the proverbial train wreck that's happened in their life. I used to use that as a metaphor, but that's become too real in the news lately. Probably I need a new metaphor. So, or they're a wisdom seeker. They're just interested in learning. They've read books. They've heard people talk about it, and they want to know more about consciousness, about how it affects us in our lives. And what I find, and I was one of those people that was a wisdom seeker when I first came to a New Thought church. I went to Unity and Centers for Spiritual Living are very similar. And what I find is no matter where you enter this, you find the other two. So I came in as a wisdom seeker, and I found a progressive community, and I found healing and change. I didn't even know I needed healing and change. Oh, guess what? And if you come in for healing or change, coming in, you find this wonderful community and you find the wisdom there. Or if you come in for community, you find healing and you find the wisdom. So no matter what, and through the spiritual practice we do. So I think it's just an awareness of why we come to the table, why we come to community, and what we are here for. I'm just kind of curious about a little poll here, and you don't have to participate, but if you're willing to, how many people are aware they fit into one of these three categories? And how many people first came here because they were seeking wisdom? Okay. How many people first came here because they were seeking a progressive community? And how many people came here that say they were seeking healing of change of some kind? Wow. Some of you are voting more than once. Which is fine. I understand that. How many people found all three while they've been here? There you go. So in finding this, what's difficult about opinions is sometimes there's truth in them. Sometimes we just need to hand it all back to somebody, all of it, that we don't, somebody we don't know very well, we just let them, whatever you think, we don't have to pay attention. But sometimes it can have a deep effect on us, opinion of someone, because it's someone we love, or it has to do with a work situation, or, a boss's opinion of what we're doing can affect us quite a bit. So in that, we want to find out what is the truth in it and let the rest go. So the first thing I would say is we need to return to the garden. And what I mean by this is return to spirit, to take some contemplative time. What we know is spirit is always supportive, always open. And at the same time, when I talk about a garden, garden is usually we think of flowers and butterflies, but sometimes there's bees. Sometimes sometimes there are weeds there. And so sometimes we sit down and we contemplate what the truth is and what somebody has said to us. There's some painful and uncomfortable things. Not only their words, but maybe some things that we need to think about ourselves that are truths within ourselves. This week, I received an email from somebody that had to do with a project I was working on here at the center. Now, before you try and figure out who this person is, they are not part of our community, okay? They're outside of our community. But they sent me an email. They said, I'm really upset at you because you started doing this project when you asked me to do it, and I feel dishonored. And I just go, whoa. The good thing about email, the bad thing about email, it doesn't communicate everything you want to say, but the good thing is you can take a step back from it, or it's texting. So I took a step back, and what I recognize with the discomfortable part is I do that often. It wouldn't be beyond me to take on something that somebody else, I'd ask somebody else to do, or I don't even ask anybody to do it, I just take it on. It's very possible that I did this, but I thought about it and I reflected. I went back to an email that I sent this person, and I asked them do they know where to find a document? I did not ask them to work on it, but they assumed it. And so we had a little email discourse about that. But I was willing to look at my part in it and let go of the rest. Let go of her emotions that didn't really apply in this case. I know as I grew up, I had a loving family. No qualms about that. But there were times when both of my parents were distant, especially my father, who worked a lot. He was an entrepreneur. People that are entrepreneurs, they don't have times off often. They just work, even at home. He didn't have a computer then. Laptops, I think, have made it worse rather than better. But I had a longing in me that I didn't even know was there. Sometimes you have that longing, as you're a kid growing up. But when my father, when I was in my mid-20s, my father passed. He died young in his 50s, and it was very difficult for me. And I had a sense of incompleteness, and I needed verification about my maturation, my success as an adult, and it just wasn't there because he wasn't there. And it felt like a hole in me, and I tried to fill it with relationships, achievement, doingness, busyness, understanding of God. And it wasn't until later in my 20s when I just had this moment of feeling lost. I had yet another relationship that wasn't working. And, I finally had to admit it was probably me and not women or something I could else blame it on. And I tried, but but I thought about, I thought a different relationship with Spirit. And what I know is that what I heard about, what I read about in the Bible, even though my churches didn't talk about it at all, is Jesus sought a contemplative life. He went to the wilderness. And so I decided to open myself up to an inner spirit of love, and I began to feel a sense of worthiness. It wasn't like, oh, the light's on, suddenly I feel worthwhile, but it was slow, and I felt a worthiness, and I had a sense of what I had to offer the world, or that I had things to offer the world. And over time, I had to begin the practice of letting go of the needing approval, as much at least, and started living for my authentic self, my true self. And that was scary at first, but the more and more, I was having relationships that worked. Come to find out, you need to be authentic in relationships for them to work. Who would have thought? I was hiding out thinking that was the safe place. But it was a lonely place, in fact. And I think we can become over-concerned about the opinions of others. And when I was preparing for this, I was thinking of the song, the 70s song, I think Ricky Nelson, about, and you guys are going to know this, but it's all right now, I learned my lesson well. You can say it with me now. You see, you can't please everyone, so you got to please yourself, right? And yet I think that's a good overall philosophy, but it can also be very self-centered. I'm just going to please myself. And that's where I think that relationship with Spirit comes in, because you can find a deeper purpose, you can find a deeper truth, and this is going to be your ground, so that people's opinions don't blow you off, don't knock you off center. The other day I was in meditation. I was just feeling a little like I was doing too much. And why I like being a minister is the balance of doing and being. And I was just kind of wondering, what is my purpose in ministry? And how can I rewrite myself or something? And then this thought, and it wasn't like a voice came down like, oh, but it was just a sense within myself to love, serve, and remember. And I try and make it so complicated. I try and overdo it. It's just to love, serve, and remember. And I realize I've been doing that my whole life. And there's deeper times I'm more focused and more engaged in that, remembering it more. If that's it almost is remember, love, serve. But it doesn't quite go as well in that phrasing. But love, serve, and remember. It's that simple. It really is that simple. So we choose to embrace what is true and let go of the rest. Just to let go. And the problem with that is the shame that we have internalized. Brene Brown, who's kind of this vulnerability shame expert, she says, shame is the intensely painful feeling or experience of believing that we are flawed and therefore unworthy of love and belonging. And she says what we don't need in the midst of a struggle is shame for being human, for just making, being human. Sometimes we make mistakes, or I like to call them missteps. But we notice it, we learn from it, not in a place of shame. The problem with shame is it's like Velcro. And so when you think about don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, you've heard that phrase, right? And the idea behind that in terms of what I'm talking about is that you take out the dirty, yucky water from the bath, but the life that you are, the baby, the truth, stays with you. But unfortunately, with shame, we set down the baby and hold on to the dirty water because it's like Velcro that sticks to us, the yucky part. So when someone makes a comment to us that is full of emotions, we don't take the time, or we're so full of the shame or the guilt that we're holding on to that we miss the life that's there. So unhook that shame, recognize it, realize it, because Brene Brown talks about what holds on to shame needs 3 things to grow out of control in our lives: secrecy, silence, and judgment. So call it out for what it is. There's a phrase in Sufism that says, before we speak something, is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Which is a great thing. But we don't do that to ourselves. So before we take in something, is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Just hold on to those things that are true and kind. Somebody could say something that's true, but it's in a very mean way. Let go of the emotions from it and just recognize the truth that's there. Separate it. It is separatable. True, necessary, and kind. The Jungian psychiatrist Jean Shinoda Boland says that bliss and joy come in moments of living our highest truth. And when we are most authentic and trusting and feel that whatever we're doing, which can be quite ordinary, is nothing the less sacred. So that gets back to that divine feminine I was talking about early in women's history, that really, when we're willing to be authentic and trusting, we can find that all life is sacred, not just certain aspects of it. And finally, we want to be self-reliant. I just love this photo because this woman is in the midst of the world, and yet she seems like she is confident. And where we find our confidence is in spirit itself. One of the transcendentalists that had a deep influence on Ernest Holmes, his name was Ralph Waldo Emerson. And if you don't know him, he's an incredible writer. And one of his most famous books is called Self-Reliance, and also another book is The Oversoul. But what's important about what he talked about in self-reliance, here his quote is, "To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment." But when he was talking about self-reliance, it's also misunderstood that when self-reliance is like an individual thing, that, okay, I'm self-confident. But once again, that's a selfish way of viewing things, and often not accurate, because our own little mind is not always a good detector of our own BS or of the truth in a situation. Instead, what Ralph Waldo Emerson is talking about is our intuition, is a sense of the divine, is that this spiritual greater sense. He says, what lies behind you and what lies in front of you pales in comparison to what lies inside of you. And he talks about listen to the inward voice and bravely obey that. To believe your own thought, to believe that which is true for you in your own private heart is true for all people, that is genius. So he's talking about this divine sense, which is going to be able to give us a sense of what is true. And sometimes it takes some sitting with it to recognize it, to see if there's some truth in something somebody said, or perhaps something we've discovered, to find the greater truth in it. And that's okay to take time with it, to be with it. It is okay to say to a person about, this is an emotional conversation. I'd like to walk away. I'll come back to you, but I'd like a little time to process this. And it's okay to do that. You don't have to be in this time when you feel like if you wait a minute for answering a text that somebody thinks you're dead or something, Take your time with conversations. Important conversations require a little more time. I do love what Marianne Williamson said in finding our true north and finding what's important. She says, maturity includes the recognition that no one is going to see anything in us that we don't see in ourselves. So worthiness, lovability. She said, stop waiting for a producer. Produce yourself. Now, what I know about Marion Williamson, it sounds like a very by me kind of thing that she's going to do it herself, but I know she's a deeply spiritual woman, deeply spiritual. And what she's talking about is allowing Spirit to produce things with us. Don't wait for someone else to recognize what our magnificence is, what Peggy's talk was. Don't wait for someone to say, you're going to be, we should have you do this project. Create it yourself, but with Spirit. Allow Spirit to come through you as yourself. You don't need to do it all yourself. Allow Spirit to do through you, and know what is true, necessary, and kind in the words of others and in the words you speak to yourself as well. Let us go to prayer. What I know is the truth right now is that there's only God. And that's all we need to know. The Spirit is in us and around us, and we are connected with all that is. And I know in the coming week it is Spirit through us that reminds us what is true, necessary, and kind. In the words we speak to others, and the words that are spoken to us, and the words we speak to ourselves. And we know that we are approved by the divine being of all things. And for this, I'm so grateful as I release this into the law, knowing it is so. And so it is.
I wanted to sing a song that not only follows on what Reverend Jay said, but means an incredible amount to me. Living Spirit, I am grateful. Loving Spirit, I am free. So many gifts upon my table, loving kindnesses to me. Loving Spirit, I am grateful. Living Spirit, for the way, for the rich, abundant living every single day. And I give thanks for the knowing. I give thanks for the way your love is overflowing every time I pray. And I thank you, God, for one good day. Living Spirit, I am grateful. Loving Spirit, I am free. So many gifts upon my table, loving kindnesses to me. Living Spirit, I am grateful. Loving Spirit, for the way, for this rich, abundant living every single day. And I give thanks for the knowing. I give thanks for the way your love is overflowing every time I pray. And I thank you, God. Yes, I thank you, God. Oh, I thank thank you, God, for one good day.
Calvin, I really enjoy your music here. Your consciousness runs deep in the river. Thank you. This is the time in our service we invite you to participate in the law of circulation. We appreciate all the different ways that you're able to give, including online or texting or here in the service or online as well if you happen to be part of our online community. If the ushers could come forward, please. What I know is that which you are giving comes back to you in the circulation. That which you give, you also receive in many over blessings. So thank you for your participation in this law of circulation. Take that which you're willing to give today or representing what you've given to us at a previous time and repeat with me on the sharing abundance affirmation. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I circulate, and so it is.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Hi. All right, great. We like to honor anybody who's here for the first time. If you're willing, we have a gift for you to raise your hand. Anybody here for the first time? Right behind you. So great to have everybody here. Good to have you back for the second time.
Well, I'm so glad to be back. Thank you.
So we have a, it's already up there. So we can raise our hands to our new person as well as everybody here and those online. We simply say, we bless you today, knowing that the peace and happiness you seek is also seeking you. We honor your inner radiance as you let your light shine in the world. We are grateful for your presence in our community, and so it is. A couple reminders is you can sign up for Astra's workshop, for Laura's study group. You can get tickets for Sip and Savor. And one more thing, we green bags, so we usually do our food donations the second Saturday of even months, which would be April 9th, which is Easter. So we'll still collect them Easter, but if you want to bring them next Sunday, the 2nd, if you're already part of that program, or if you want to know more about that program, we collect the green bags of non-perishable goods every other month, and we take them over to the food bank to keep the pantry stocked here in town for those in need. And do you have some green bags today, Janice? Okay, see Janice outside. So if you're not part of the program, you want to become part of it, pick up a green bag. I know my green bag has a little slit in it, so I need a new one. So it's all good. So please be a part of that. It really helps those people throughout the year, not just during special holidays. So let's all stand for the congregational affirmation.
Blessed
Hang on, one thing. One thing. Almost. We'll do that in time. Repeat after me. Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
I'm led by Spirit.
I am led by Spirit.
I'm guided by wisdom.
I am guided by wisdom.
I'm protected by love.
I'm protected by love.
I am here to be a blessing.
I'm here to be a blessing.
I am so grateful.
I am so grateful.
And so it is.
Now?
Now.
Blessed always, blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say one more time, blessed always, blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joys be so triumphant that we rest in God and say amen.
Many blessings, everybody. Have a great Sunday. Thank you, Cal.
Welcome to the Napa Valley Center for Spiritual Living. We are a vibrant, inclusive, and spiritual community that seeks to live intentionally, love unconditionally, and see God in all people and in all faiths. We believe the work we do in prayer and in the community creates a world that works for all cultures, races, orientations, and faiths. For over 60 years, we have practiced thinking globally and acting locally to help awaken humanity to its spiritual magnificence. Annually, hundreds of people actively participate in our services, classes, events, and in our Spanish-speaking ministry. And we are training the next generation of spiritual leadership in our ministerial school. In the last few years, because of apparent divisions politically and socially, and because of threats to basic human rights, we have magnified our application of Science of Mind principles with engagement and compassion in action in the greater Napa Valley community. Our members have participated in women's marches, pride events, and we have hosted speakers on racial issues. We have empowered and mentored diverse leaders in our community and given scholarships to diverse ministerial students. We have donated over 4,000 pounds of food to our local food bank. Our spiritual director, Reverend Jay Lang, has facilitated an interfaith leadership group to hold public prayer vigils and 9/11 commemorations in participation with Jews, Muslims, and Christians. We have fostered the creation of a beloved community in the larger Napa Valley area by honoring community heroes at events and tithing to and partnering with a dozen different nonprofits that share our vision. Together, we've created a Martin Luther King Day of Service where over 1,200 participated in community service annually. The leadership of our parent organization, the Centers for Spiritual Living, headquartered in Golden, Colorado, recognized our community for all of the outstanding, compassionate work we've been doing over the last few years with the 2022 Meritorious Community Award. As we move forward to do this work of the heart, to awaken the world to its spiritual magnificence, will you join us as we continue to ascend to new heights and create a world that works for everyone?